Hi, everybody, and welcome to About Her Brand, the podcast that's all about the business of growing a business. I'm Tisha, I'm your host. I'm really excited today because I have one of the most organic guests lined up, and I just think you're going to love this. I think the story is phenomenal. I think she does amazing work, and everybody that I run into in the business sector is always debating about this topic. So I think she's also going to bring some clarity to the table. We've got attorney Stacey Ann Taylor. She is a trademark and patent attorney, correct?
I'm a business and trademark attorney. I
Business and
don't
trademark
handle
attorney.
patents. Yes.
I wrote that down too. I did write that down and didn't even read it right.
It's fine.
You are a business and
Yes.
trademark attorney. I remember when I spoke to you, you were articulating to me some of the things, and I was just like, this is spot on. But tell people before I ask you the first question, tell people what a business and trademark attorney is.
Well, a business and trademark attorney is someone who assists. Well, it could be a new business owner, an aspiring business owner, or a well-established business owner with various legal business services such as contract drafting, negotiation, the registration of intellectual property such as trademarks or copyrights, or in some cases, some business attorneys are in fact patent attorneys as well, and they do patents, as well.
And when you were sharing that with me, I was like, I want to hire you for all of the things. But
Mhm.
unfortunately, I can't because you're in Atlanta and I'm in North Carolina. But all
Yes.
the things that I can hire you for, as the money comes, you're my person.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Can I just say something quickly about
Sure.
that? So trademark law is federal law, which is what you are alluding to. And to practice federal law, you only need to be licensed in at least one state or
Right.
jurisdiction. And I'm licensed in Georgia and the District of Columbia. So that's why I can help you with your trademark, which
Yes.
I have.
Yes.
But yes, contract law is state specific. So for something like contracts, I would encourage you to find a business attorney, who's licensed in North Carolina to help you with contracts.
Absolutely. Thank you for the clarification.
Mhm.
So, Attorney Taylor, what to you is hold on, let me go to my notes because I want to make sure I ask it like I said it because otherwise we're tricking the people. But what is your elevator pitch?
I am a licensed business and trademark attorney who has an unusual background. So many of the business attorneys that you will meet have basically just been attorneys since they graduated from law school, which is obviously incredibly important and esteemed and all of that. But I haven't just worked in the legal world. I actually held a non-attorney director level position for a company that was at the time valued at $500 million for 7 years.
Okay.
So I have extensive senior level business leadership, experience, and so that is what makes me different. I am a business and trademark attorney with a genuine business background.
Yeah, you're not just an attorney.
Yes.
Yeah, you're more than the average attorney. That's amazing because you are
Yes.
absolutely right. A lot of people go to high school, graduate, go to college, decide to
Mhm.
become an attorney, go to law school,
Yes.
graduate, and go straight to work, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
you took a break and you went into corporate America. Why'd you do that?
So I actually I did take a break. I actually went into government first.
Okay.
Then I actually was really an attorney and a lobbyist. Then I went from there because of my work as an attorney and a lobbyist in DC. One of the trade association where I was working, one of our clients actually hired me. And so then I got a non-attorney business position, and I had that director level position for 7 years, and it was under the operations division. I reported directly to the SVP, who reported to the CEO. So.
Okay, what did you do in government? You have totally piqued my interest there.
Yeah, so I did a few things. So I was a special assistant to an agency director. I also did policy work. I did legal policy work. And so I spent, I don't know, probably a total of about 4.5 years in government before transitioning to really doing more strict legal work and lobbying. And
Okay.
I did lobbying for quite a long time.
Lobbyists matter. Look, Imma tell you
Yeah.
something. When I worked in government, I learned the lobbyists are the people you wanna be
Yeah.
friends with.
Yeah, so I've had a and somewhat unusual career. I mean, obviously it's not uncommon to see lawyers working in government. There are plenty of attorneys, obviously. Many
Absolutely.
of the folks in government and obviously elected officials, many of
Our
them are,
attorney.
are attorneys, and it makes sense. But I am proud of my background because I've worked in government, because I've worked in private industry, and now I own my own business. So I've kind of seen it all at this point.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, because you do understand business the way you do, this question is going to be really easy for you. Who is your target audience and how do you identify and engage with them?
I am focused on helping primarily established business owners, so people who've been in business for at least a few years,
Okay.
who are very often solopreneurs or just have a very they run a very small shop. They may have like 2 3 employees, or they just use contractors, independent contractors, to assist them. But my target audience is really people who have basically built a business that is actually profitable and stable, and
Hmm.
now they're ready to protect it with a registered trademark. that's
Absolutely.
that's and how I reach them primarily through social media.
Why does that matter? That profitability and that stability. Why does that matter?
Well, I think depends on who you ask. So this is actually a great question. I'm really glad that you asked me this. There are a lot of trademark attorneys who will tell you that every single business before it gets launched, you need to, file a trademark application before you even file for your LLC. Before you sell anything, you should go ahead and file your trademark application. So I don't believe that.
Hmm.
And that is probably controversial. It's just my opinion. Obviously, if you're a business owner, you will make your own decisions about how to move.
Right.
But I do think that there are some occasions where someone is has created something really novel and unique and will really shake up the marketplace. And I think for those people, even if they've never owned a business before, if they have something truly unique, then I think it's worthwhile to file a trademark application even before launching the business officially. But for most people who are starting businesses, they are starting businesses in areas and industries where they're not really going to shake things up. They're basically going to be doing more of the norm. They could own a small restaurant. They could own a restaurant that sells really great wings and fries,
Right.
right? They could start a t-shirt company. They could be selling candles. And there are many ways to do this, but quite frankly, if what they are offering is not that drastically different from what's already in the marketplace, even if they have a unique name,
Hmm.
I would rather, this is just my opinion as someone who is a business owner, who's an attorney, and who's worked high level in the business world,
Right.
I would rather they actually sell something, try to sell a few of whatever it is, the wings, the t-shirts, the can, whatever. Try to sell some of those, for at least a little bit, 6 months, see
Right.
how it goes, see what the revenue is looking like. And then if you realize that, oh, wait a minute, this is really a thing and people really like this and people are willing to pay for it consistently, then I think it's great time. You don't have to wait 3 years to register a trademark.
Right.
Many of my clients, have been established business owners for that period, but you don't have to. But I also, in most cases, don't agree with someone, especially who is a first time business owner, who has never even sold lemonade, right? Never even had a lemonade stand. This is the first time you're going into business and
Right.
you're
Let me get
selling.
a trademark.
Yeah, like maybe you should try to see if people want what it is that you are selling first, and they want it consistently and are willing to pay for it consistently.
That is really good. And I think that it also demonstrates your ethic because most people assume attorneys are like, well, just give me your money. Like,
Mhm,
I don't really care about all the rest of it. Just give me your money. But hearing what you're saying says to me, I care about whether you succeed or not.
mhm.
I don't care about just making my money. I
Yes, that's
love
right.
that. And that was
Yeah.
one of the reasons that I was so drawn to working with you because when we had our consultation,
Mhm,
you really ran that to me. And I picked up on the fact that you could be like the perception of the attorney and say, here's how much it's going to cost. This is the
mhm,
process. Let's just do it. But
mhm,
you were not that. You walked me through it. You
mhm,
articulated some of the risks. You told me some of the rewards.
mhm,
You explained what you just explained. And then you said, now in your situation, I think we should do this.
mhm,
And so we move forward. And I really appreciated your
mhm.
candor. You said that you find your target audience on social media. Well, I'm proof
Yes.
it works, right? Because we
Yes.
connected through TikTok, which,
Yes.
by the way, can I tell you, I was sitting here and I said, Tisha, you're so smart because your algorithm is filled with attorneys. But then on the other hand, there's like the viral dance stuff that pops up too. So I'm not even going to play y'all and act like it's just all attorneys.
Right.
But, Attorney Taylor, how do you navigate social media as your marketing mechanism for something of this magnitude?
These are such well thought out questions, and I so appreciate them. So, launched my law firm. I've been an attorney now for 20 years, about 20 years. I launched my law firm July 31st, 2020. I think I set up my social media accounts earlier that year, February of 2020, before the pandemic started, and I just sat on them. I didn't do anything with them. Nobody was following me really until July 31st. So July 31st, 2020, I think I had like 14 followers. I grew the account up until September 2022 from about 13, 14 followers to about 1,600 followers. September 2022, I have the screenshots. I only had about 1,600 followers. But
Right.
from September 2022 through today, April 2nd, 2024, I grew my account on Instagram specifically from about 1,600 followers to almost 80,000,
Wow.
right? And so my
Wow.
main, yeah, I mean, it sometimes I think about it, I'm like, this is kind of crazy. My main social media account is Instagram, but I'm also present on TikTok. In that same period of time, I have about 4,000, a little over 4,000 followers on TikTok.
Okay.
How I did this is literally something that I have thought about many, many times. I think the main things are I am unapologetically myself.
You are.
I am myself, and I think you can. I think when people speak to me on the phone, very often potential clients or now clients like you, people consistently tell me like, "You are exactly how I thought you were going to be because I see your videos."
Mhm.
This is really who I am. So I'm unapologetic myself. I try to be a mixture of professional, but still, somewhat chill and relaxed. So I'm not, oh, you don't always see me. I don't wear suits. I don't like suits like that. So I have some, I don't wear them most of the time. I'm not, I have my own little thing. Like I like costume jewelry. So when you see me with some huge, ridiculous earrings, like I have my own little thing that I'm doing. So so the first thing is very visual.
Mhm.
That's like a primary driver for social media. The first thing is visual. The second thing is my environment. I always film outside on my back
You
porch at
were
my house.
outside. You were outside.
Always. Always
Yeah.
on. It's the same. It's essentially a set. So if you keep watching my videos, you begin to expect that that's where you're going to find me.
Okay.
And then the knowledge that I drop is, if you look at most attorney accounts, I don't care what practice area they're in, legal practice area. It could be personal injury, trademarks, it could be family law, whatever. Most attorneys who are on social media do not share valuable content that is actually that's actionable,
Actionable.
valuable.
Yes.
And I'm basically giving you the store away. I'm giving the store away because I know that for most people, they're still not going to do what I
Wanna
explained
do
in the
it.
video,
Yeah.
right? And I know, because I understand human nature. And so that's really it. Like just being myself, having a consistent background, in this case, my backyard, my porch outside in the back. And through rain, sleet, snow, if it's cold, I put on a coat, I go out there, I do what I need to do, and then giving away actionable, valuable content.
I love that.
That's it.
I love that. And I really do think that that's what connects. I attended a seminar recently and they were talking about how in the noise of social media, people are over marketing. And so what people are looking
Mhm,
for is somebody authentic that they can trust to do business with.
mhm,
And when I tell you, you just nailed, I hope anybody listening to this podcast truly heard the landmarks that you hit
mhm,
for being
mhm,
able to navigate the terrain of
mhm,
successfully building your audience. You're
mhm,
authentic, you're consistent, your
mhm,
placement's consistent, the way you
mhm,
deliver is consistent,
mhm,
you're bringing value and it's
mhm,
actionable. Like
mhm.
that's amazing. Would you say that those are earmarks of your brand, your business brand?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I mean that's really, I'm basically conveying in video form who I am as a person, who I am as an attorney, and what my firm stands for.
I
Right?
love
I mean, I'm
it.
consistent, I'm very reliable, I'm really easy to find. Like when you email me, I'm not emailing you back 3 days later, right? Most of the time I'm emailing you back within an hour.
Right.
And
And
I
when you
mean,
said the
most
number, we
yep.
actually talked to you.
Yes, that's great. And when you book a call with my firm, you're actually speaking with me because I
Right.
want to speak with you because I want to see who it is that I'm potentially working with and where you are in your business and what's going on. So, yeah.
Are you surprised by the response that you're getting from social media? Are you surprised by the number of customers, by the support that you're receiving on social media?
Um I will say this. So what I have done so to answer your question in short, no, but I also want to say that I it took a while to get here. So if I don't want anyone to think that when I grew this account basically in more or less 2 years, from September 2022 to through August, it's not even 2 years, August 2020, I mean, April rather, 2024, from September 22 to April 24, I basically have grown this account by like 99%. Like
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely, I mean, I'm sorry, like exponentially. I'm not even thinking of this in the right terms. I've grown this account exponentially. Um, I think that I would be more surprised, honestly, if all of the people who are now regularly booking calls and becoming clients, I think I would have been more surprised if it happened really close to when I started having viral videos. It
Right.
did not. So I will tell you something. It takes about I would say at least a solid 6 months to a year for people
Okay.
to recognize you online and become comfortable with the no like trust factor that everyone talks about. It's
Hmm.
true. It takes a long time for people to figure out who you are, recognize you, believe what you're telling them, and
Yeah,
then take action on it and want to work with you.
absolutely.
So yeah, like it's extraordinary. I'm not surprised by it, but I don't want people to think it's something that happens overnight. It takes a long time to build trust. Like a lot, like when I'm saying 6 months to a year, that's like the fast, that's the accelerated schedule. It could really take you a couple of years.
So is it fair, Attorney Taylor, to say, because this is one of the things that I'm telling my potential
Hmm.
customers,
Hmm.
I am not selling solutions that are going to
Hmm.
net you $30,000 in 30
Hmm.
days. I
Hmm.
think that we are so inundated with that message,
Yes.
and we want that, but it's
Yes.
not realistic. So is it fair to say, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you. Is it fair
Yeah.
to say that it's a good thing to measure your expectations and to be in this for the long haul?
Yeah, I mean, I heard Ice Cube, the rapper, say something one time, and I think he's right. He basically said on an interview a couple years ago during the pandemic that if you don't have 5 years to invest into a business venture and possibly not make any money from it, like he's like, don't even do it. So I
Don't.
wouldn't say 5 years, but I would say at least two. Um, I think at his level, I think 5 years is probably more accurate because he's doing bigger things. But
Right.
I think that require a lot more capital and all this other stuff. So that's probably true. Remember that Jeff Bezos had Amazon up and running for 10 years before he made a
And
profit,
it was just
right?
all they saw was books. Remember that?
Yes. And
It
he
was
only
just
used to sell
books.
books. So remember
Right.
at that level, it can take a really long time. But I would say if you don't have at least a couple of years like this, there are unicorns out there, but they are still unicorns, right? So 99% of the businesses that you see will not have six figure months in their first year. Do some businesses have that? Yes, absolutely. They are really the exception to the rule. They are not the
Absolutely.
rule.
Absolutely.
Mhm,
So while we're talking about social media, let me ask you
mhm,
this. I remember reading a story a long time ago, and it was
mhm,
talking about how somebody's entire business was stolen from them, and
mhm,
and they were doing very well. I think it was a makeup brand.
mhm.
How does this rise of social media and marketing on social media benefit your business? And why should people be contacting you when they start to experience this success in business as we're seeing it on social media?
So the rise of social media is really wonderful because it's opened our eyes and our minds and our hearts to all these possibilities. And I think it's very inspirational in a lot of ways. But obviously, some people, a lot of what you're seeing on social media is just outright lying. Some people are just outright
Absolutely.
lying. Right there, I mean, there's no sugarcoating. They're just lying. So I think from that standpoint, from encouraging entrepreneurship, which I think, excuse me, is a wonderful thing. I grew up. My father is an entrepreneur, is still an entrepreneur in retirement. Like I grew up around other entrepreneurs. I
Yes.
think social media has allowed entrepreneurship to come into the mainstream, and I think it's really, really wonderful. But by that same token, it also allows for a lot of exposure. So this is something I say all the time. If you are doing well and you have like a product and you make a video for it and it goes viral, yeah, that's when I would seriously consider at least then, filing a trademark application for the name of the product. Um, just because when you get a lot of exposure, that's when you really see the copycats. If nobody knows who you are and no one's buying anything from you, the chances of someone copying you are not high, which is one of the reasons I say wait until you're consistently, especially if you're a first time business owner, wait until you're consistently selling your product or service and you're seeing that people are willing to consistently pay for it.
Mhm.
And so social media is a double-edged sword. It's very inspirational. It's showing you the possibilities of what's out there. It allows for a lot of exposure, but that exposure is a double-edged sword because
How
people can
often
definitely take your stuff.
Absolutely. How often, on that take your stuff note, how
Mhm.
often are you seeing people stealing like a creative name or a creative design or something like that and saying, we want that, like the big guys. Cause see, that's what we're all us
Mhm.
little guys, we're scared the
Mhm.
big guy's gonna hear our little idea and be like,
Yeah.
I want that. And they're gonna go and they're gonna capitalize on that.
Yeah, I mean, it happens regularly. I definitely have had potential clients and clients, who have come to me about one thing or another and said like, oh, and sometimes when people think that someone is copying something, sometimes it's not really that someone is copying them. It's that they also thought of this idea. They live on the other side of the country. They've never even seen you. They have never heard of you. It's just ideas are everywhere. And
Mhm,
sometimes you're not the only person that will generate a specific idea, but sometimes it is blatant copying. There is a young woman who does like financial services education on social media. She's very popular at this point. I think she has 500,000 people on Instagram, probably like honestly like another 700,000 on TikTok, something like that. And she created a digital course, and someone, I don't know who follows her, basically let her know that someone had copied her digital course, and literally all they'd done is change out the
understood.
photographs
That's
and
it.
change the color scheme. But if you look at the copy, the person who copied, you can see it has the same title. It has the same, descriptions in the, like everything. All of the content inside the digital course is the same, except the color scheme is totally different and the photos are totally different.
Mhm,
And so this does happen. I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but people will steal your stuff.
mhm.
I mean, it's just
Well,
life.
what
How
can
many?
you do if they do that? What
Yeah, I mean,
can you do?
so when they do that, you have options. You should copyright your content. You should register a copy. You have what's called a natural copyright when you create something and put it out into the world. But you should go to the U.S. Copyrights website at copyright.gov and actually register something that you're selling, something that you put behind a paywall, like a digital course or an ebook or something like that. Please strongly consider registering a copyright for it, especially if it is something that is, revenue generating for you. If it's not behind a paywall, just assume somebody's going to copy it. If you don't want people to copy, you want to lessen the chance of someone copying it, put it behind a paywall. It still doesn't matter. Somebody will still try to copy it and sell it to their followers. But at least if you have a registered copyright for it, it's much easier to go after them. Remember, copyrights are for content like books, screenplays, blog posts, Instagram and TikTok, and those posts can be registered as copyrights as long as they are at least 50 words long each. Um, Photographs, if you're a professional
Wait. Say that again. Say that one more time.
Your Instagram and your TikTok posts, like your captions, as long as they're at least 50 words, they can be registered as copyrights. If
Okay.
it's original content, yes, it can be you can definitely register it as a copyright. Mhm.
How about that? Now, what do we trademark?
So copyrights are for content, trademarks are for brand identity elements such as brand name, logo, slogan, unique hashtag. Believe it or not, sounds can be trademarked. The tudum that you see when Netflix, the N comes up, the
Uh-huh.
N is a registered trademark of Netflix, the orange reddish N, but the tudum sound is a registered sound trademark of the Netflix corporation.
So if somebody else uses that, they're
They can go after them.
infringing.
If they find out
Oh,
about it, they can go after them. Mhm.
okay. Is it
Yeah.
important to as because that's my lane, brand
Mhm.
development. So is it important
Mhm.
for my customers to come and see you and cover all of the elements of their brand?
Yes, but to start, most small businesses, are operating with limited resources. So just register as many trademarks as you can. At first, if it's only one, which for many small businesses is only going to be one. If it's only one, start with the brand name. The brand name is the most important branding element. It's the source identifier for everything else, right? Start with the brand name, and then you can build your trademark portfolio over time, over a number of years. You can move on to the logo, the slogan. There's so many things can be registered. People would be so shocked. When you walk into the Waldorf Astoria, there is a certain potpourri mix that
That's
they
scent.
use, and you walk into a Westin hotel, there is a certain potpourri or fragrance that they use. Those are, I believe it or not, they actually have trademarks for those.
Wow.
The smell, the unique fragrance
Because
is the
it's an
smell.
identifier for that
It's an
location.
identifier. When you walk into a Westin, it's a source identifier. So
Mhm.
believe it or not, it can be registered as a trademark.
That is so interesting. So you hit on a question I want to ask you,
Mhm.
and that is for those listeners who are just in the midst of starting or scaling their business.
Mhm.
What are some resources and tips that you can help to effectively manage their legal needs without overwhelming their budget?
Okay. Well, first things first is you should just take a look at the USPTO.gov. the US, the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Patents, and by the way, patents cover inventions and unique manufacturing processes, but the government agency that is responsible for awarding trademarks and patents is called the United States Patent and Trademark Office, found at uspto.gov.
Hmm.
And you can just go and look at their site. You can search for trademarks for free. You don't have to pay to do a basic trademark search. You will need a trademark attorney to do a more advanced trademark search, which you should, before filing a trademark application. If you work with me, I'll do one for you. But yes, you can check out that website. Do even if you have an idea for a new business name, a new brand name, a new product name, whatever, go to the database for free and see if it's in there. At least do a basic search. So that's a way that you can familiarize yourself with trademarks. And by the way, all these trademarks, if you want to look up the trademarks that Netflix owns, or Domino's Pizza, or Disney, or whatever, they're all in there. Put in
Okay.
Netflix and see what pops up. Right? If you just want to learn more about trademarks, if you want to if you want to see what if you want to see if you have a competitor and you believe they have a trademark, put in the name of the brand, see if they have a trademark, see if it pops up. Um, so that's one resource. If you're interested in copyrights, which is again another form of intellectual property that protects content, you can go to the United States Copyright Office's website at copyright.gov that I previously mentioned, and they have really great instructions and great instructional videos on about copyrights, what copyrights are, what kinds of things are registered as copyrights, and how you can file your own copyright registration, how you can
Hmm.
file your own application. Yeah.
Okay. Now,
Mhm.
I'm going to ask you this question.
Mhm.
Do you recommend people try to navigate this on their own?
I think so. In my opinion, if I had to choose between the two, I think copyrights are easier to do on your own than trademarks. Trademarks are very challenging. Trademarks are a very complex area of intellectual property, in my opinion. Um, if you wanted to like copyright the content of a book, you have a book coming out. I think you could do that by yourself. This is just my opinion. You can pay me to do it too. That's fine. But I think it's simple enough. If you only have one piece of content, like a book or a screenplay or something like that, you can do that. You can figure it out. They have great instructional videos. But in general, if you have a lot of things that you'd like to register as copyrights, I would hire an attorney to help you. Like
I
me,
think if you just only have one thing, you need to hire an
yeah,
attorney.
I will say this. I think for copyrights, again, if you have one thing, you can figure it out, in my opinion. But for something like trademarks are way more complex. In my
Absolutely.
opinion, you should not be trying to register a trademark on your own.
Look,
Um,
Attorney Taylor, I was reading, I said before I came across your information, because there's a million people on social
mhm,
media that tell you just do this or just do this or you can
mhm,
do it like this. And I said, well, let
mhm,
me look into this. I
mhm,
started looking into it and I was reading, and I love to read.
mhm,
Love to read. I think I
mhm. It's a
comprehend
lot.
well. I said, I don't understand any of
It
this.
is. So I will say this. It's not, you're not going to be able to go to the copyright.gov website and read it, like look at it one time and know. You're going to have to spend time with it. But if you are willing to do that and you only have one piece of content, I think it might be worthwhile for you to do it. It's going to take you a little while. Now, if you care more about your time, because time is your most valuable resource, then yeah, just hire an attorney. They'll take care of it for you.
Right.
But I always want to be honest with people, because I know that in a lot of businesses and industries, people are like, oh, you always have to use a professional. And yes, it's better to use a professional. But in the
You don't
case
have
of
to do.
something like one single piece of content, like you can just figure out how to do that
Figure
yourself
that
if you're
out.
willing. Yeah, but not for a trademark. Do not play games with the USPTO. Like
What at
not for a
all.
trademark. Yeah.
And let me be very clear, that's the part I was talking about, that trademark
Yes.
portion. I was like,
Yes. No. For a trademark, no. The
yeah, I said,
trademark.
this is a foreign language.
It's the videos are not as clear as the Copyright Office's video. The instructional videos are not as clear, in my opinion, and it
And
is
it's
you.
so nuanced.
Trademarks are extremely nuanced. Yes, that's very true.
Right.
Yes.
So I
Mhm,
appreciate your expertise. And
mhm.
when you told me your rate, I gladly paid you because
Yes.
I knew I wanted to protect that information, that property. I
Yes.
also knew I did not have the capacity to do it. And last week my guest and I were talking and she said this, and I want to piggyback off of what she said.
Mhm.
She said sometimes entrepreneurs don't understand that everybody doesn't know that they need to be managed. But
Yes.
sometimes you need to be managed. I'll say
Yes.
this. Sometimes you need to know you've come to the end of your rope where your wit is concerned. And
Yes.
you just need to hire somebody. And if you can't
Yes.
afford it at that time, grow to where you want to go, but certainly
Mhm.
be putting the money to the side
Mhm.
to be able
Mhm.
to take care of these things.
Absolutely.
It's too important not to.
Yes.
Now, what drew you? I should have asked you this earlier, but it got really good. What drew you to
Mhm.
specialize in trademark law?
I just have a lot of business experience, and I like marketing and branding. That's
Okay.
it. Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Mhm.
You said that did you say your father or your grandfather was an
My
entrepreneur?
father was and is an entrepreneur.
What did
Uh-huh.
he do? What are some of the things that he
Well,
did?
he owned a computer store. He's owned a bunch of online stores. Currently, he and my mother are real estate investors. They're
So
always doing something.
when they see you walking, because see, you could have gone and worked for anybody,
Hmm.
especially with the resume that you provided at the beginning of this episode.
Hmm.
You could have had your pickup employers,
Hmm.
you could have gotten a very lucrative pay and
Hmm.
kind of had it a lot easier than you probably do as an entrepreneur. Why
Yeah.
entrepreneurship?
I mean, I will say this. I mean, in my previous position, I my position was eliminated after 7 years. By the way, I was working from home. I started the position in the office in Los Angeles at the time. I was working for a company that was based in LA. Started the position in the office that was based in Los Angeles. After a few years, they allowed me to actually move to Atlanta, basically anywhere I wanted in the continental United States, and work from there.
Right.
So I was working from home way before the pandemic. And then the year before the pandemic started, they eliminated my position. And so I honestly, as part of my package, they gave me a package. I renegotiated. It was a good package, but I renegotiated, got an even better one. And as part of my new package, I got like extended career counseling. And I worked with a career counselor, and she was just like, I really think you might make a very good entrepreneur. After getting to know me, doing some testing with her, what she's like, I think you might. She's like, it's not going to be easy, but I think you could do it, and I think you might excel at it.
Mhm.
So that's how I ended up, on this path. And it's hard. I don't want anyone to be fooled. Like entrepreneurship is a very lonely road at times. It can be extremely not just a lonely road with like some big potholes. Some
Absolutely.
it can be very, very challenging, but it also is incredibly rewarding, and it can be a lot of fun, right? Because the only this is the key for me. If you want to be an entrepreneur, I will tell you this. The key for me is that you need to be comfortable making a lot of decisions. If you are an
Yes,
indecisive person, entrepreneurship is not for you
at all.
at all. This is all we do all day is
Is
make
make
decisions
decisions. That's it.
all day, every day. That's it. That to me is one of the cornerstones of entrepreneurship. It's like how decisive are you? If you're not a decisive, you're gonna break. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think you
Hmm.
also have to be very willing to be uncomfortable. And total
Hmm.
disclosure, and full transparency,
Hmm.
it made me so nervous to ask you to come on my podcast.
Oh, why?
Not because you're intimidating, but it is intimidating to have this is a new podcast. And
Mhm,
people think, and I'm saying this for the benefit of everybody listening, because I need for you to get it out of your head that you
mhm,
have to be at a level in order to qualify to bring in people who are at a level.
mhm.
I look at you and I recognize that you are succeeding in the endeavor that you're succeeding in. You could have your
Mhm.
pickup podcast to go on. In fact, you told me when I asked you,
Yeah.
I'm not doing any more podcasts. I'm taking a break.
Mhm,
But for you, I'll do this because XYZ. I said, I appreciate it.
mhm,
But
mhm.
here's the thing. So y'all go calling her. She's booked. But here's call her for business, but don't
Business
call
for
her to be on
business.
your podcast.
Yes.
but
Call me for business, yes.
Right, call it for business. But I had to, and I've had to do this a number of times now as I get more and more
Mhm.
serious about success. I've
Yes.
had to stop telling myself what's not possible.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I have to say to myself, Tisha, not only is it possible, but it's highly probable. And
Yeah.
the only way that a person will tell you no is if they really have a reason to tell you no.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be an arbitrary, well, no. And I think that as
Mhm,
entrepreneurs, sometimes that fear will prevent us from being able to
mhm.
transition into our success. So
Yeah.
I think, when I hear you say to really be to bet on yourself, because that's what I heard when you
Mhm,
said what you said, bet on
mhm,
yourself.
mhm,
You can have a great job, yeah, of course. But if
mhm.
you are able to make decisions, if you are able to face your fears, if you can be consistent, bet on yourself.
Yes.
Bet on yourself.
Absolutely.
Now let me ask you one more question before we
Sure.
wrap this up because we really value, and when I say we, listen, here's my team. And I thought this was so funny. I wrote a little blog yesterday, right? It's a great blog. I'm going to put it out today. But I was talking about how solopreneurs often have to really do everything themselves because
Mhm.
it's just them. You don't have a team. And I say, here's my team. My assistant, Shawnee, and she's
Mhm.
artificial intelligence.
Just uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
then my car, my phone, and my
Mhm.
computer. Those are my
Yeah.
3 employees.
Yep. That's it.
But we get so much done because I'm at the helm of the ship. And
Yes.
I believe not only that, but because I also value mentorship.
Yes.
So as a person who values mentorship and as a brand development company that
Mhm.
really values mentorship and community
Mhm.
support, have there been mentors or particular pieces of advice that have shaped your approach to how you do business and how you brand your business and who you serve in business?
So I actually had a business coach my first or second year in the business. I'm about to be 4 years in July, as I mentioned.
Congratulations.
I my first or maybe second year in the business, I got a business coach. She's actually an online business coach. She's very gifted. And one of the pieces of advice that she gave me, which I think is incredibly important, is to basically reduce friction at every opportunity
What
in
does
your
that mean?
business.
Tell me what that means.
So, reducing friction means basically taking out as much complexity as you can out of your business, especially when you are a solopreneur, right?
Okay.
So, one of the ways that she talked about, which is very key, is like if you're someone and you have like 7 offers, look at the number of offers that you have and see if you can scale it down to 1 or 2. And at the time, I had like, I don't know, like 5 offers or something like that. And she was just like, this is way too many. She's like, you're overwhelming people with choice, which is something that if you know human nature, you know that the more choice that you give human beings, the more likely they are to make no
No
decision at all,
choice.
right? No choice at all. So she talked about a lot about reducing friction. And that's something that I always remember. And I think about it even in my systems. Like I have very good, like secure, systems, but they're very simple. There's not a lot of complexity. If you click on my link, for example, on my Instagram page or on TikTok, like it takes you right to my scheduler. You can schedule an appointment with me very easily. I'll be on the phone with you. Like you just have to reduce friction as much as possible because by reducing friction, you actually sort of give people a level of comfort and almost like empower them to actually make a decision because that's what this
So
is.
good.
Buying is a decision, right? Buying a service like mine, legal services, or buying a product, buying some cupcakes or something, that is, that is an actual decision, right? Buying is a decision. So reducing friction as much as possible will help you stay better organized on your end and will help your customers make decisions more quickly.
That's really good. I'm getting ready to apply that piece of
Yeah.
advice. I hope that our listeners will too. What do you have on the horizon and how can people connect with you?
Well, on the horizon, I'm just going to continue to grow this firm. Like I said, been in business almost 4 years. It has been a lot of ups, a lot of downs too. A lot of really interesting. This is an interesting adventure. What has remained consistent is me really focused on mastering my craft. So, like, my thing is like, I'm going to get you a trademark. Like, that's right. I have been really, really blessed to be able to master what I am doing and to really understand like how the trademark registration process works and like what will work and what won't work. That's why if you call me and you have a trademark that's already registered, I'm going to tell you in your particular industry, you're selling the same thing. I'm going to tell you right away, like, this isn't going to work.
Mhm.
Like, I'm not going to do what some companies do, which some companies will know that there's an existing trademark out there that's just like yours in your same industry or trademark class, because trademarks are registered in classes and they'll still file the trademark application anyway. This just happened like a couple weeks ago to a potential client. She was telling me about this trademark and I was just looking in the system and I'm like, why did they even file this? Like,
Wow.
why did the company that you hired even file this? This was not going anywhere. And now
Wow.
her money is gone and they won't give it back.
Wow.
So, so yeah, my big thing is like what's on the horizon is just further, obtaining further mastery of my discipline as a trademark attorney. And people can get in touch with me a lot of different ways. You can go to my website at Stacy is EY at StacyAnnTaylorLaw.com. I'm on social media on TikTok, Instagram at Stacy Ann Taylor Law. Again, Stacy's with an EY. And you can get in touch with me very, very easily. Like I said, there's scheduling links directly on those on my profile for each of those social media platforms. Schedule a call. It's very easy.
Awesome. And I'll make sure that I'll link all your contact information with
Thank you.
this podcast. And let me ask you this, because while you were explaining, I was thinking, I wonder if she's going to do any workshops. Do you ever do workshops or seminars or
I do. I have occasionally done them in the past, and I would consider it as long as I'm compensated for my time. I would consider doing a workshop in the future, but for me, the way there's something called pro bono work essentially, which is where you work in the legal profession. You sort of work for free. You
right?
help people who are just struggling, may not be able to afford certain legal services, whatever. For me, a lot of the pro bono work that I'm doing essentially is I'm giving you lots and lots of valuable trademark
Information.
information for free. I mean, I have over 300 trademark related videos on Instagram and TikTok.
So if anybody needs a workshop, they just need to go to your
Yeah,
Instagram.
go through the content. I mean, the content is, like, actually valuable content. I'm breaking down a lot of complex intellectual property concepts in very often most of my videos, the vast majority, like 90% of them or more are or better are 15 seconds or less.
Okay.
I'm not even talking for 30 seconds most of the time. It's usually 15 seconds or less.
So that's going to be the first link I put up. It's going to be your Instagram. If
Okay, thank
anybody
you.
wants to learn more about this and wants to understand trademarking,
Mhm.
visit attorney Stacey Ann Taylor at Law's Instagram page, and
Yes.
we will get you some information directly from her, from
Yeah.
the professional. And we're going to make sure that if anybody reaches out to me, I'm going to connect them to you because
Oh, I would love to.
I think you're phenomenal. I
Oh,
really
thank you
do.
so much,
And
Tisha.
I pray much success over your business. I
Thank
hope
you.
that you're here for years and years and years to come because as long as I'm in business, I need to know that there's somebody who's got my back if I've got a good question. And I think
Yeah.
that that somebody is definitely you. If I'm in the Atlanta area, I hope you will humor me and let's have lunch one day.
Yes, let's have lunch.
I'd
Oh, I
love
would
to
love to.
meet
I'll
you
take you to
face to
lunch.
face. It's
Yes.
so good to see your face.
Yes, yes. Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And listen, you guys, I always leave you with these three words, four words. Growth is greater than potential. That's five words. I
Yes.
always leave you with that because I really believe that that's true. Potential is amazing, but my dad always says potential just means that you're not living up to what you can do. If you
Mhm.
start growing, you're going to live up to who you're called to be. This is about her brand, the podcast of growing a business. The podcast is all about the business of growing a business. I want you to be successful. I will continue to try to bring you impactful information, meaningful guests.
Mhm.
I'll try to make sure that you're able to strategize the best you can. I really want to mimic what Attorney Taylor has said. My desire is to make sure that you get actionable, applicable information and that you
Mhm.
don't have to pay for it all the time. Because if you find value in what you see we're giving you, you'll find a way to connect with us.
Yes.
I really believe that there are so many people who have the power to shape what our world looks like. And we're
Mhm.
just waiting on you to step out of the shadows and step into your light and be everything that you're called to be. So make sure that you like, share, subscribe, follow, tell a friend to tell a friend, and you catch us next week. On next week, our guest will be Ann, not Ann, honey. Yes, it will. Anne Marie. Anne Marie is going to be our guest next week. And when Anne Marie comes on, she's going to be talking to us about marketing, and you're not going to want to miss it.